First thing we're going to do is we're going to come over to the truck here and we're going to remove the grill. And the way you do that is you take these little clips in here, they're right inside here, and you put a screwdriver in it, you just pry it very gently over, and you feel it pops right out. And you move over to your next one over here, and you do the same thing. And each time you pry it, you'll see that the grill pops out just a little more each time. Just keep light pressure on it, and you'll see it pulls right out a little bit. And you just follow it across. The same thing on this side here. Just very slight pressure one side or the other. And it pops out. Same thing here. And it pops out. And the whole thing comes out just like this. Now, come over to the marker lights here and remove these lenses here. You take out the screws here and here. These old tabs, and then just take your grill off the truck. Now you can see where the bolts are located, right inside here and down here, down on the bottom, right inside there, here. Same thing on this side here, we got 4 bolts right there, but now with the grill out of the way, it makes it a little bit easier to get in there and to get to it. So let me continue and I'll show you how that goes. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the overflow and just relocate that out of the way for now. We're going to disconnect the upper radiator hose. The hose is brand new, so we're not going to be replacing the hose. Somebody just recently did it. Right, take the clamp off. Just relocate the hose out of the way so it doesn't interfere with what you're doing. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this shroud off right here too. And the way we're going to take that shroud off is we're going to remove these bolts down inside here. There's a bolt right here and a bolt right down here. Same thing on the other side, and we're going to remove the shroud and pull that back. Take the 10mm bolts. Usually you can just break them loose and then take them out by hand. Don't throw them away because we're going to reuse these bolts. We need to put the shroud back on, so put them in a safe location. Okay, I've decided I am going to take this shroud out. And the reason I'm going to do that is because the lines are actually, the cooler lines are actually in a pretty bad position. And the way you take out the shroud is you'll come down to the fan itself right here, and we'll take out these 4 bolts right here on the fan shroud. We'll take those 4 out, we'll pull the fan out, and then get it out of there. So let me show you how to do one, and then I'll do the rest. And they just come right out like this. You loosen them, and then we're just going to take them out all the way out, and we'll take the fan shroud off. So let me take the bolts out and I'll show you how that goes. Most of the time you can get this fan shroud back far enough and just make it a little bit easier by taking it out of the way, but you don't always have to do this. You can always just pull it back. Once you've got all your bolts out over here, you just rock your fan and it'll come right off like that. Alright? Now I'm going to need 2 hands to do this, so I'll show you how that's done. Basically just take the fan and the shroud out at the same time together like this. And then just relocate them off to the side. And let me show you why I do that. These are the lines down here for the transmission coolers. This one I can get to fairly easy. This one is a little bit tighter, so it's a little bit harder to get to. That's why I took it out of the way. So let me get those disconnected. Basically, you're just going to take a pair of pliers. I'll show you. You're just going to take a pair of pliers and you're going to squeeze these together and just walk it off here. And then this is pretty loose, it'll come right off. Same thing on this one here. We're going to just take this clamp here and we're going to turn it a little bit just so I can get in there. Now that we have all that disconnected, we're going to come in here and we're going to take out those bolts that I talked to you about that hold the radiator in place. Swivel to get into it out. Swivel on the end of the side. Now the radiator is totally disconnected. The only thing you still have to do is down inside here, you see this little, underneath here, there's a little tiny hook on the radiator. We need to lift the radiator up and out to get it out. Alright, so let me just I'll show you how it's going to go. And it comes right out, just like that. Let's get the replacement, and we'll get the replacement in there. Put the new radiator in your reverse the same way. You got to catch these little tabs inside the frame now. Show you. We just got the tabs right in here, locked them in place right there, and now we're just gonna catch the bolts right in through here. So let me just do that and you'll see how it goes. Go ahead and catch your bolts to the top here. You're not going to tighten them in tight, you're just going to catch them loosely until you have all of them caught, and then you can tighten them all in. You may have to move the radiator up and down a little bit to get it to catch. Once you got them tight, tighten everything up so that the radiator is in. Radiator's tight. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to reattach the lines to the transmission cooler that we previously disconnected. We're just going to take this, put it back on like that. Same thing on this one here. Slide it back on. We're going to reattach our lower hose where it came off. And I'm going to get a pair of pliers and I'm going to slide these clamps back up here where they came from, and I'm going to tighten this one up here, and then we're going to put the shroud back in. So let me see if I can do this one-handed. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing on this one down here. And let me grab a screwdriver and we'll tighten that clamp up. Alright. Okay, remember we took the shroud out like this, so we're just going to lay it back in the same way. Put the fan in with it, and then what we're going to do is we're going to reattach our fan first. Okay. Now that you have all of the bolts on the fan tightened back in. All 4 of them are tight. We know everything is snugged on with the fan. Now we're going to reattach our fan shroud to the radiator. Line everything up, and then we'll put our bolts through it. So let's do that. Okay, let me tighten these up, and I'll come right back. Next thing we're going to do, now that we have the shroud is all tightened up, everything is tightened on the shroud, the 4 bolts are all tightened up to hold the shroud in place. A couple of things we're going to do next. We're going to put this overflow onto here. You can use a pair of pliers to put this clamp back on, or if you can do it by hand, of course do it by hand. We're going to use pliers. We're going to reattach our upper radiator hose to the car. Okay, that's pretty much it. The radiator's in, everything is tight. I'm just going to go over a couple of things with you. We made sure the bolts in here are tight. All 4 of them to hold the radiator into the radiator support. That's tight. The hose for the upper is on. The hose for the overflow is on. We know that we tightened up the lower radiator hose previously. We put the transmission cooler lines back on and slid the clamps back into place. And then we put on the fan, and we made sure that all 4 of the bolts are nice and tight. That's it. We're going to put some antifreeze in it. Once we have the antifreeze filled up, then we're going to go into the vehicle, and we're going to start it up and let it run for a little bit to get it circulating. I'm just going to put the cap on temporarily until we get it started. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.